It can't stop the day we dissect the news. Flipping on the edge, choices to choose. Politics and laughter, a blend that's so real. Tune in for the stories that make you feel. With guests from every angle, let's bridge the divide. Finding the truth in the humor we can't hide.
Well, we're back.
We are back for another episode of the Prime Directive.
Welcome, everyone.
Not to be confused with the Prime Erective, which is a different show.
Elevating the conversation.
A completely different show. Yeah. So, all right. So I keep being told this by my wife, and I have to remember this. Please do like and subscribe our feed and our podcast here. If you'd be so kind. We actually can celebrate this week because we got our first subscriber, paid
subscriber. Yes,
a person that's
big shout out.
That's right. It's a young guy. Thank you, Nate, if you're watching. We sincerely appreciate you. Spread the word, and we are definitely on track for 1 million.
Oh, 100. Yeah, we're down. How many? 909?
No, but this is a passion project.
It is.
So just to have the validation of somebody that just came across us is very humbling, and we are honored.
Yes,
so,
yes, indeed.
Do make sure to like and subscribe, and
it doesn't cost you anything. I totally understand if somebody doesn't want to hit the bell. Although if you do hit the bell, you will get the latest episodes. You'll be alerted immediately.
That's right.
Because of the important subject matter that we have to share with the audience.
I have been talking about with Liesl too. Maybe we'll send some coffee mugs or something off to the first 10 people.
Ooh,
like
yes.
Absolutely. Subscriptions. So anyhow, we appreciate you, and thank you for just finding our channel and just coming along with a ride with us for this particular journey, which is getting more interesting by the day.
Entertaining.
We are living in an amazing time, a terrible time, a wonderful time, a time of craziness, and a time of just
great joy.
Great joy. Yeah, and every day seems to be something new that's like, I didn't think that this was going to happen this way, and yet here we are. Right?
Yeah.
So we are the Prime Directive. We are a podcast with the bold mission to explore this strange new world by discussing a range of topics of interest to us. We ask that you join us to listen with an open mind, look with your human eyes, and thoughtfully interact and share your thoughts in the comment sections. We are seeking life forms willing to engage in respectful discourse. We put the civil in civilization. Yeah, so this has been, last time we had Dr. Elena Svetieva on.
We certainly did.
And we had an incredible conversation with her and my wife as well, who's an expert in leadership, just about all those concepts of authentic leadership and everything. And it got me even thinking about this past couple weeks, just how to be an authentic person and routines that I go through and whatnot. Maybe we could just chat about that, like the best advice that you've gotten over the past umpteen years that you've been alive that's turned out to actually be applicable, like things that you do that are routines that actually work, for anybody who's watching out there. I mean, I could start. One of my routines is simply to try, and I mean, I'll underline this, try to get just enough sleep. Oh my God. It's so hard.
Why would you say that?
It's so...
Didn't we have a conversation about this, Eric?
We did.
We both came to the determination that neither of us are in a position to lecture anyone at all.
And it's so hard because the demands of our careers and of our families and of just all the stuff that you got to deal with, sometimes the bullshit that you got to deal with, but a lot of times it's just important family things you got to do.
I thought you were going to just say important bullshit.
Yeah, well, there's that too, versus the shoveling kind. But no, it is astonishing how you might get home and you might throw a little bit of food down your throat, and it's bedtime, but then you just kind of lay there because you're already in the moment of either the next day. And so it's so hard to just stay mindful in the moment. But so anyway, some of the tricks I've tried, A few of them have worked over the years. We like to put on the YouTube channels where you're traveling through space, like you're in a spaceship. Yeah, you do that too. And so it's like background noise where you're like on a starship.
Brown noise, like
that one
yes.
can usually send me off to the counting sheep or whatever. I get that one can send me off in about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm usually pretty good. I try to take these things and just kill them, just turn them off, right?
Yeah, you're exhibiting the amount of self-control I do not possess.
It's so hard. I mean, we are so addicted to screens.
How hard is it?
But we are so addicted to screens. It is astonishing to just to take a look at your screen time over the week and just try to carve away a couple hours less. And
oh, I totally ignore that every time my report comes in every week. I'm just like, yep, and delete, swipe away, we're done.
And delete, and it's done. It's done. So that's one that works for me. Surfing on some of the YouTube channels that have like the Buddha music and stuff that's just kind of relaxing. The background noise and the starships and whatnot. Another ritual that I engage in each morning is to, when I come up here for my showers and stuff, I usually try to pick like an Alan Watts lecture or something like that to kind of get my mind rolling, or a Sam Harris talk, like his podcasts and whatnot, but just something to kind of get my mind going. If I can't find that, maybe an old classic album to listen to, like Pink Floyd, or any of the old mythical music stuff. There's a guy named Dean Evenson who has like flute things that are really awesome and whatnot. So that's been successful for me, trying to get some sleep and then having a morning routine that kind of gets me going. That would be probably my advice to anybody listening out there. How about for you?
Lack of sleep. I find that you don't really need that much sleep after all. After a while, it's like your body kind of gets used to it, but your body keeps tabs on that. You may think you're doing okay, but you're not. Your body eventually starts to shut down.
It does.
And I will say, as far as morning routines are concerned, I have to go for the coffee. I have to go.
The drug.
Yep. Yeah. I have to get my coffee. If I don't have coffee, I'm pretty confident the rest of my day is completely shut.
Or you're making mistakes, and then you're having to correct mistakes. And
yes.
Shit that you're like, oh, I didn't mean to do that, or I didn't mean to do this, or no, how did I forget that? Yeah, no, I agree. It is very interesting to think about. I think a third of our lives are gone in sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where the hell do we go? You ever thought about that? You ever thought in the mind's eye, like in our own consciousness or unconsciousness, a third of our living life is kind of gone in a different realm that we only tangentially even touch upon and think about and try to control? It's amazing to think about that. Elena was the one that brought that up to me last time, that many times a lot of the great thinkers, I have just like bizarro, like fantasy lives and whatnot that they've got going on in their minds. But I don't know. When's the last time you had a dream that you could remember?
That's actually one of the interesting things. I was hoping you were going to bring up dreams, because I feel like that is the time for both the body and mind to rest. When you really think about it, it's the time to allow the body to repair itself. Yeah. That's why, getting rest, that's why sleeping is so important if you're not feeling well, because it's the body's natural way of repairing itself, healing itself. And the same thing goes for our minds. It's meant to allow us to get the brain to shut down and be able to process the information that we have been overloading the mind and the brain throughout the day. And hence why sometimes our dreams are about the things we've experienced at some point, right? It's basically unraveling the reality that you're dealing with. That's the importance of this, sort of like I guess, lucid state where you're like in it but not in it. You know what I mean? Like your mind is still working, but it's just not working. It's not working in the same capacity. It's working at the subconscious level. And what's interesting to me is I cannot tell you the last time. I am notorious. I'm a notoriously bad sleeper. And furthermore, I do not dream. I genuinely lost the ability to dream. I bet you do, but you just
don't, because the REM maybe is so quick for you or whatnot.
It's non-existent.
You only get like a 40-minute shot of it or whatever it is. But it's tough to remember them. You have to almost like keep a pad next to you or like you're journaling next to you and actually wake up immediately and try to remember. And man, I've had some flipping whacked out dreams.
Oh, do tell. Now I'm all ears. What dreams have you had?
Well, I was going to say that it's what's important is one of the successful strategies for us is to get good sleep, obviously. But then when I do dream is to make sure that I try to actually control where I'm going. And
you have that ability?
Sometimes. It really does depend on the day in the dream. It depends. There are times where I cannot get out of the terror ship that I'm in because I'm so heavily influenced by like the alien world and Geiger and that kind of crap and Alien and
this is why we get along so well. Let's be honest. This is why.
At least once a week I'll have a dream where I'm getting chased by an alien and I've got to arm myself up or something and I've never figured out, what it is. It has to clearly represent something. Now whether it's within me, and for those of you who don't know out there, H.R. Geiger was an artist in the 60s, 70s. He designed the biomechanical terror creature that became the alien, this eyeless, no eye kind of creature. So he
designed the original Alien, the Ridley Scott.
That's it.
1970.
Ridley Scott. The whole fandom that's out there will probably correct me if I'm wrong, but he had originally contacted a couple other artists and horror fantasy guys, but eventually settled on Geiger after he saw Necronomicon, which is the art piece that he'd. And if you ever check this guy's stuff out, it's disturbing. It's, but I don't know. I've always been the kind of person, like we had that episode where we talked about art. You have to look at the dark as well as the light. You have to see it. You don't have to revel in it or anything, but I think it's important to at least, when you see that first Alien piece, you're like, holy shit, look at that. What is that? Right? You're like, it's a human-like thing.
It has human appendages, arms, legs, but
in that elongated head that's almost phallic in nature. Very, very messed up. It's some messed up art without being like gory or anything. It's like this biomechanical stuff, and so this guy, that guy created a world and an imagery that I just. It's been vastly influential. Like it's appeared in like the Chronicles of Riddick stuff. That's all that necromancer stuff they use in that. I can't tell you the number of dark scientific film noir stuff that's gone down that rabbit hole of creatures and that kind of stuff. But I don't know. When I dream at least once a week ish or so.
About aliens.
That damn thing is just there. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is. It's just sometimes it's dangerous. It's never gotten a hold of me. I wonder what that's about. It's never actually gotten a hold of me. But I've always just seen it at a distance. And God, that mouth. Ugh. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you upset about the tongue with teeth?
The mouth within a mouth. Ugh.
Yeah. The tongue with teeth.
Ugh, God.
See, it's so funny because for me, I always enjoyed science fiction, and I remember being a kid and watching my very first horror movie and being completely freaked out. It was my older cousin.
How old were you?
You know what? How old was I? I was. I think it was, I was I must have been 8 or 9.
Okay, you were a little older than me.
Yeah, I think 8 or 9.
I was about 6
It was
or
Friday the
7.
13th.
Friday the 13th. Okay.
Classic, right?
Jason and the Mask and all that stuff.
Yeah. Completely freaked me out. It was my older cousin who showed me the opening scene to one of the Friday the 13th movies. And let me tell you, that completely... When
you watch those now, I just don't know if they hold up.
No, they don't. They're hilarious.
You're like, this is scary? What? This clown in a mask? What?
Yeah, I know.
But Alien, holy shit. You can watch that thing even right now and you're like, oh, God.
It's disturbing.
This is disturbing.
It is disturbing.
God. And just the soundtrack that Scott put together with just that heartbeat. Dunk, 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 dunk. God, Jesus. I can't believe my dad took me to that damn thing.
Well,
yet at the time, what I remember is, I was scared, but what's weird, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm messed up or something. I was just enthralled and just, it was like this whole universe of horror was opened up. And, God, so you're just, you're putting yourself in the place of the actors and stuff in the movie, and what would you do after the thing comes out of the chest and stuff, know, and how could you defeat this thing? Could you defeat this thing? Would you run? Would you fight? Great horror movies like that are just, that's probably another one of those things I could recommend to anybody out there. Just, find your niche of whether it's books or movies or whatever that you go back to again and again that get you to think about like the moment you're living in and stuff, and it just kind of grounds you and also elevates you and gets you to think about what could and couldn't be. And so for me, Alien was definitely, that's one of those pivotal moments, right? Where it's like you see this thing, there's kind of like you're a kid, and then I saw this movie and I kind of wasn't a kid anymore.
You grew up
at like 7.
Yeah, I was gonna say all of a sudden you got home and all of a sudden you're like, you know what, Dad, I need to shave my beard here.
And I don't want to go on a spaceship, Dad. It is amazing. Great movies can do that and just put you into that world. I have yet to experience completely the ones I'm sure that a lot of younger viewers are with the VR headsets. Mm-hmm. Where you're in the world, you really are.
Well, that's
in
what
it.
A first person, for example, the one game that defined the survival zombie genre would be Resident Evil.
Yeah.
And it's it revolutionized in terms of it created a sense of adventure.
Yeah.
Because there are puzzles, you have to figure stuff out, mm-hmm. and of course there's movies like Silent Hill, mm-hmm.
which
were also based on a video game, of course.
Yeah,
and it's interesting too because looking at those, it does create a sense of adventure, and I think that's what makes it exciting. That's what in the same way that you could look at Indiana Jones movies. They're kind of scary, right? I mean, they have a lot of supernatural themes and things that are outside of this world, right?
Yeah.
But it's still an adventure. There is still that sense of I need to survive this, and you feel like you're being taken on a journey in the same way that Predator, for example, a movie series that I really identified with. Interestingly enough, I became a huge fan of the
I've seen it hundreds of times.
Yes.
Hundreds of times. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Sure, it touches more on the action side of things because it's a direct confrontation. There's usually, there is not that sense of, how should I put this best? There is not a sense of too big of a unequal amount of power. Because, especially in the first Predator, you've got an elite commando unit armed to the teeth going against an alien.
Yeah,
whereas
they're not necessarily supernatural. They're just more technologically advanced kind of
correct.
things.
Whereas in Aliens, it was different.
Yeah, an alien comes from within. The Predator comes from out. It's the true extraterrestrial kind of a thing. The alien is an intraterrestrial
entity, which is far more likely.
God, that's what's so disturbing about it. That it's within you and coming out of you, and God, and that messed me up with The Thing too. I saw The Thing.
Oh yes,
with
by
Kurt
the way,
Russell,
Russell Crowe,
not
Russell Crowe, Kurt Russell.
Yeah,
Jeez,
Kurt Russell.
I'm getting my names mixed up.
Yeah, that one was definitely disturbing. We watched that. That one messed my brother up.
You're like, oh, that explains so much.
My brother, we watched that thing, and we'd play guns and The Thing and everything else as kids, and
that's priceless.
We just did. It was, it's very interesting. We lived very interesting. Gen X, we've had that kind of experience, and it was collective. That's maybe what's so different about the generations now is, I think a lot of younger generations are so fractized into.
They're fragmented,
right?
Yeah, they're fragmented.
So they've got this group over here that plays like these player-on-player games, and then there's a group over here that does the zombie games, and then there's a group over here that just does like maybe I don't know, so some kind
strategy
of strategy. I was going to say strategy or fantasy, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough to find that fraternity and community. So you really got to go out there and kind of find it. So maybe that's another tip. You dreaming? Yep. Got your routines, check, right? And then finding that community through film or art or music to try to like
a band, just to go out and play
a band,
right?
For me, that was so pivotal. That's Big Al here. This is my dad's totem, if you will, that he got years ago of him. I got to get a little trumpet, maybe put on his. I think you should. But as a musician, there's an entire world and community open to you for playing music. Or as an artist, same kind of thing if you're like an artist. But so give us a list of some other movies. What do you think? What are some other ones worthy of any of our watchers and listeners maybe checking out if they haven't seen them, that are definitely, you and I are definitely heavy sci-fi,
definitely heavy
horror,
yes,
and sci-fi horror, my God, but futurism.
Can I just, if I may, it's interesting. I've always enjoyed movies in terms of. And oftentimes people will say, well, the book was better. Yeah, because you got to imagine your own world. You got to paint the images. You got to imagine the characters in a particular way that relates to you, because you're the ones creating that world. You are the person creating that world as you read those pages. Yeah. The one thing I enjoyed about movies is I'm allowed to go into someone else's mind. That's how I looked at it. Wow, I get to experience what someone else is imagining.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's giving you a sneak peek into someone's, world, which I thought was always fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like, I get to experience what this person is thinking or feeling or imagining. And the one, actually 2 movies. And the one thing this is the one point I wanted to make. Movies, I feel, have a tendency to be very prolific. And they carry within them a message of what could become. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they serve as an incredible lesson. Have you ever seen the movie called The Running Man?
Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Fascinating movie.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend it because it speaks to a world where a game show is...
Takes over society. Yeah.
And the year is, I believe...
2025?
2025? Yeah, I was going to say it's 20-something. Early 21st century. Yeah. And the characters within it really... the use of AI, the use of AI imagery to shape people's perceptions of right and wrong. Yeah. And I feel like, wow, we're living it.
We're living a game show.
A game show.
Each day you kind of feel it. Yeah, that was an interesting one. We watched that Total Recall. Right?
I was
another
literally going to say.
Schwarzenegger movie. Then
yes.
He was in Predator too. So that really kind of cemented him, because he had a bunch in a row that just kind of cemented him as like the quintessential
sci-fi action
guy. Right up until there was one that he had in Terminator, all that stuff.
Oh,
right?
let's not even go down. I was
a
Terminator super fan.
Yeah.
I actually memorized the entire film.
Yeah.
I could literally recite every line
I probably
of
could
that
too.
movie.
No, I probably could too. Like scene by scene, I could kind of
100%.
Yeah. Well, and that's the director. It's James Cameron, right?
Yes. Yep. Cameron.
So Cameron was one of those prolific, another director who's able to share his dreams. There it is. Your movies are the director's
Look at Avatar.
dream taking shape on screen. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So in a way, we're kind of living a movie every time we go to sleep, right? I mean,
yeah.
If you think about it, that's
exactly what it is.
You might not remember it, but you're living a 5 to 8 hour movie, and yet, and what's so messed up about the dream world, right, is that you don't really. I've had some incredible waking dreams where you put your head down and there's like two things that happened. You're like, oh, hello, how are you doing? And then you wake up.
Wow.
And it's like, that was 8 hours. That was 8 hours. And you're like, what the hell? And then a couple times I've had some dreams where I actually had my eyes open, but I was like asleep. I remember one vividly. I was listening to Pink Floyd. I almost had I don't know if I had a stroke, but my eyes were open. They're even watering. And I was listening to Pink Floyd. There was a rainstorm in the background. And I had like this out-of-body experience as a kid, as a teenager. And I wasn't even on drugs.
I was going to say, Eric, was there something else involved?
No, I wasn't even on drugs back then. The music was the drug. But I lived an entire life. It's weird to say that, but I lived like I had a wife, I had kids, I'd moved to another state.
Can I ask you a question?
It's crazy. And then you come out of it and it was only like a half an hour or something like that had gone by. And I had actually, it was crazy. I could remember names and places
and experiences. By the way, after you woke up,
kids, I named them after the Robotech series, Brita and Sierra.
Are you serious?
Yeah, no, it was crazy. Wow. I had this whole nother fucking life. It was crazy, but it was only like 20 minutes. That happened to me again, but it happened to me when I was giving blood for an insurance policy. And the nurse came to the house and started giving blood, and I hadn't eaten all day, so down I went, and blood's going everywhere, and my head goes bonk on the table. But that one, again, I traveled through time, but that one was weird. I was in another realm. I was almost in a Lord of the Rings world and stuff. That was weird. That was very strange. But I lived a whole nother existence for that one. It's very strange. I've come to think that time, I know that all the physicists say it's linear or that it keeps moving or whatever. I'm not so sure. I have experienced some things as a drummer even where I've just, I'm holding onto a beat so often and so long that you almost begin having this out of body experience with the metronome. It's crazy. And you don't even have to think about it. It's just automatic. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. So Schwarzenegger movies are very interesting. I'm a big fan of Ridley Scott. Huge fan of the Blade Runner series. That was the books of
100%.
Philip K. Dick's books and stuff. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep and stuff. Because this is the world we're now living in. Where we're gonna have androids. We're gonna have them.
That is already happening.
It's gonna happen.
What is that? What is that annual technological expo?
I keep wanting to say Comic-Con, but that's not.
It's
it.
not.
They're not dressing up. It's the other one. I know what you're talking about.
Okay, as long as you and I both know what it is.
It's in L.A. Isn't it out in L.A. or something like that?
Yes, it is.
And they usually show the robots, the latest, the drones, and everything else.
Everything.
The big dog. I saw that big dog came out.
Did you see that thing?
I was like, oh my god, yeesh, because it moves just like a dog, and you're like, this is disturbing. Oh my god. And then I've seen some other videos. I'm not even sure if they're real or not, but they put a gun upside down on the thing and it's running around the battlefield, and they put a TAR-21 on it. It's a bullpup gun. I'm like, is that real? It's getting hard. It's getting hard to tell what is real and what isn't. But okay, so sci-fi. There's some other ones that maybe people don't know about that were still very influential, to me. and they're probably worth checking out. One is Silentrunning. You ever heard of this thing?
No.
Okay, in the 1970s, the ecological environmental movement was catching on pretty big.
Yeah, because Nixon was in the White House.
Well, but people are stagflation, all that stuff. People were, I think, were becoming aware that the environment was. We were doing things to the environment, right? Lead, gasoline, and all that stuff was.
Yeah, look at the Cuyahoga River at the time. That's actually one of the things that really motivated Nixon
caught
to
fire,
even come up with
right?
DPA.
Yeah, rivers catching fire.
Yeah.
And so that movie comes out of that backdrop.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about this guy who is got the final ecospheres left on Earth, but we've carved them up and put them in domes, and then put those domes into space
In order to protect them?
Yep, it's the last ecospheres of Earth, and in other words, of us. And so they're on this mission. Like, I think they're floating around Jupiter or somewhere around there. But they get this insane order from the idiotic governments at the time that, well, we're gonna give up on this. We're just gonna give up. So you can go ahead and detonate all the ecospheres and just return back to Earth. And this guy freaks out. He's like, these are too beautiful to lose. And he ends up killing like all the other crew members. I think the first one's by accident, but then there's others that like he purposely terminates them so that he can save the environment. And there's like these little robots that tend to the stuff. And so the final one is, it's a very interesting metaphorical movie about nature and our place. And he makes sure to save the one biosphere that he had been taking care of. So he sends that one out into deep space so it can be taken care of forever and ever and ever by the robots. And then he detonates himself because he's a moral person, and he decides that it's humanity that's the problem, not the nature stuff. So just very interesting. That's a very interesting movie. Silentrunning. And it's a sleeper. It's a slow moving kind of sleeper that just kind of moves along. But by the end of it, you're like, yeah, this is really, I'm getting this. I think I understand exactly what's going on here. Mm-hmm. Obviously we got to talk about Aliens, right? So when Cameron,
such a worthy sequel. I'm sorry. I will be heartbroken over Bill Paxton's passing.
Yeah.
Bill Paxton.
He was always, you gonna put her in charge?
It's game over, man. It's
game over, man.
His acting, his ability to convey true, deep sadness, joy, comedy, laughter will hardly ever be surpassed.
Yeah. No, I agree. And then some of the more fantasy stuff. God, I'm beginning to start to think back. I mean, flipping Schwarzenegger, man. Again, like Conan the Barbarian and stuff. I mean, it's crazy.
One of the greatest movie soundtracks ever created.
Right? Basil Poledarius. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. But it's incredible to think that, God, that guy really was influential for a generation of people.
I remember growing up and watching Conan. Who didn't want to run around with a sword? But it's so interesting to me because talk about the life lessons and the duality of the character in the movie. Yeah. Because think about it. In the beginning,
he's a slave.
He's a slave. But before, his father is teaching him, where he's basically telling him, it's like, for no one in this world can you trust. Yeah. Not men, not women, not beasts. But steel. Yeah. And then what is the riddle of steel? Yeah. It is not the steel that is mighty or hard or conveys strength. It is the hand that wields it. The real strength is you, including the weakness. When you're at your weakest, you're still strong. Yeah. And isn't it interesting that at the end, of course, the life lessons come together in one of the final scenes of the movie, which I think are just so tremendous. Yeah. Because what do you have? You have that, his lost partner who literally comes back from the dead to save him in his moment of need, which totally, removes the whole don't trust like anyone or anything, because he trusted her and she came back from the dead to save him. And then what happens? The sword that his father said, this is the only thing you can trust, what ends up happening to it? It breaks.
He breaks it. Yeah, he breaks it.
He breaks it, which in turn, I mean,
it's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor. It is such a love. It's a wonderful movie.
Yeah, her name was Valeria.
Valeria, yes,
the
great
Valkyrie,
memory.
The Valkyrie.
Yes,
right, because she's sits next to Crom, the god of steel. Blah,
yes,
blah, blah. Very, very Teutonic Norse mythology.
Oh, huge.
Huge. Yeah, enormous North Scandinavian vibes with that movie and stuff.
Well, in the beginning, you remember the village. The village is covered by snow.
Yep.
The father, who appears to be a blacksmith in the village, is clearing the snow on his workbench to to tend to horseshoes and whatnot. And it's interesting too because it is. I think it's a beautifully shot movie. I think that the music. And we could have a totally separate conversation. We could have a totally separate episode on movie soundtracks and the importance of movie soundtracks to carry the movie, to carry the film, to carry the imagery. Because without it, it wouldn't do anything.
Was the director Oliver Stone for that movie? Who was the director of that
Oliver
movie?
Stone. No, it was Milius.
Milius, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
He was
Maybe
the director. Oliver Stone.
Did he do the screenplay?
Yes.
Okay, very interesting.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, because that drives the vision. There's the dream again.
Yep.
Is that the writer has a vision of what they can see, and then a director can make that the visual.
Join us on this path, let's ignite the blaze. So grab your headphones tight, let's go for a ride. With every spin and twist, we'll cut and run and hide. The Prime Directive, where the laughter's alive. Society's reflections, let's help each other thrive. Politics and culture, oh what a blend. Join on the journey and let's set the trend. As we close the chapter, let us your year. The Prime Directive's calling, so let's pass a beer. The Prime Directive, where the laughter's alive. Society's reflections, let's help each other thrive.